They call me a queen in the shadows, a jewel meant to glitter only when the curtains are drawn, when the music of the ballroom fades and the secrets of men slip from their lips like spilled wine. Yes, I have worn silk gowns stitched with gold. I have dined neath chandeliers that glowed brighter than the stars. Dukes and poets, generals and ministers, they have all whispered my name as if it were a prayer. But let me tell you a truth no one wishes to hear. None of it belongs to me. The champagne bubbles, the diamonds around my throat, the horses pulling carriages through Parisian midnight, they were never mine. They were borrowed moments, fleeting illusions, bought with a price that grows heavier with every heartbeat. You see, when people imagine a courtesan, they imagine beauty without sorrow, power without chains. They picture a woman adored, desired, untouchable. But I know better. I know what it feels like when the gown comes off and the mirror shows a girl too tired to recognize her own face. I was never born for this world of velvet and deceit. I was made into it, sculpted like clay, polished like a stone, taught to smile even when my heart was breaking. So tonight I will tell you my story. Not the story they wrote in their scandal sheets, not the story they painted on canvas, not the fantasy they sold at the opera. My story, the one I carry in silence, hidden beneath rouge and pearls. Listen closely, because once the music begins, once the doors of the ballroom open again, I must become her, the courtesan. But here, in the stillness, I can remain myself, if only for a moment. I was not born into silk. No, my cradle was made of wood splintered by time, in a room that smelled of damp straw and boiled cabbage. My mother's hands were always rough from endless sewing-stitching dresses she could never afford to wear. My father, he was gone before I learned the sound of his footsteps. Some say he died in the factory, crushed beneath iron. Others whispered he simply walked away. In the end, it did not matter. His absence was the first truth I ever knew. I was a child of shadows, one of many who slipped through the cracks of the city. We learned quickly that hunger is a cruel teacher. Bread was never enough, warmth was a luxury, and innocence was a coin we could not keep for long. When I was 16, I carried with me nothing but my mother's worn shawl and a heart too naive to understand the games of men. That was the age when the world first noticed me, not for my mind nor my dreams, but for the curve of my smile, the softness of my skin. They said beauty was a blessing. I tell you now, beauty is a contract you never signed, yet must honor until it devours you whole. The turning came not with thunder, but with a whisper. A woman older, dressed finer than anyone I had ever seen approached me near the market. She smelled of lavender and smoke. Her eyes scanned me the way merchants scan a jewel, calculating its worth. You could be more than this, she told me. Her words were honeyed, dripping with promises I had never dared to imagine. Fine gowns, a warm bed, never having to count pennies again. She said I would dine where kings had dined, dance where chandeliers shone, and no man would ever look down on me again. I believed her. Or perhaps I wanted to believe her, because when you are drowning, even poison looks like water. That night, I stood before the mirror in a stranger's house, my hair unpinned, my lips painted for the first time. I hardly recognized the girl staring back at me. She looked older, braver, as though she already belonged to another world. And so it began. Not with fire, not with force, but with quiet steps into a gilded cage. They told me I was chosen. They told me I was lucky. But no one said what luck costs when it is purchased with your soul. The first time I entered a ballroom, I thought I had stumbled into a dream woven by angels. The chandeliers dripped with light like molten gold, casting every face in a glow too perfect to be real. The air was heavy with perfume and cigar smoke, with laughter polished to perfection. I wore a gown of crimson silk, the fabric sliding against my skin like a secret. Jewels sparkled at my neck, borrowed, of course, but dazzling enough to make the wives of generals squint with envy. Men bowed as I passed, their eyes lingering too long, their smiles rehearsed yet ravenous. It was here I learned my first lesson. Desire can be sharper than any blade. With a glance, I could command silence. With a smile, I could earn favors that politicians would kill for. They told me I was powerful. And for a time, I almost believed them. I remember the music violins swelling, flutes sighing, a waltz that carried us across the marble floors. Partners changed, hands pressed against my waist, whispers brushed against my ear. Secrets fell from lips loosened by champagne, treaties not yet signed, scandals hidden beneath velvet curtains. The trembling confessions of men who ruled nations by day but crawled like children by night. And I, the courtesan, was their confessional. Their mirror, their poison, and their cure. Outside, the streets of Paris groaned with hunger, but in these salons, champagne flowed like rivers. I tasted caviar while beggars clawed at stale bread. I sat beside dukes and poets, listening to their sonnets and their lies, all the while knowing I was both ornament and distraction, a living jewel they displayed but never claimed as real. There were moments, I admit, when I felt untouchable. When the room turned to watch me descend the staircase. When diamonds flashed at my ears and men quarreled for a dance, I thought perhaps this is victory. Perhaps I have won the life denied to me at birth. But the truth always returned in the quiet. In the stillness after the music, when the gowns lay crumpled, when the pearls were locked back in their velvet cases, I would find myself alone. Alone, with only the echo of laughter and the faint stain of rouge on my lips to remind me that this power was not mine. It was lent, rented, purchased at a cost too high to measure. They adored the courtesan, but no one loved the girl beneath her mask. They applauded me in the ballroom, but spit followed me in the street. Wives clutched their husbands' arms tighter when I passed. Priests bowed their heads as if my very shadow could stain their cassocks. To the world outside the gilded doors, I was no queen. I was disease wrapped in silk. Yes, disease. It lingered in every embrace, every kiss stolen in candlelight. Men brought me roses and jewels, but they also brought me fevers, rashes, whispers of pain that crept beneath my skin. Doctors spoke of maladies venereanous in hushed tones, as if shame itself was a contagion. Many of us carried it, this invisible mark, this curse of pleasure. Some hid it behind powders and perfumes. Others wasted away in hidden hospitals, their beauty devoured in silence. I learned to paint my lips red, not just for allure, but to hide the pallor of exhaustion. I learned to smile wider so no one would see the cracks in my teeth, the tremor in my hands. And then there was the loneliness. Do you know what it means to be admired by everyone, yet loved by no one? To have your bed warmed each night by strangers who never learn the sound of your laughter? To be touched endlessly, yet never truly held? In the daylight, I was shunned by respectable women, condemned in sermons, mocked in pamphlets. In the night, those same voices crept into my chambers, begging for the very sins they damned me for. Hypocrisy was their prayer, and I was its altar. The price was not only my body, it was my soul. Piece by piece, I gave it away traded for coins, for gowns, for carriages. Yet no matter how much they paid, I always felt I was selling myself too cheaply. I would sit at my vanity after the men had gone, staring into the mirror while the rouge still clung to my cheeks. And I would ask, who is this woman? Is she a goddess of desire or a prisoner dressed in jewels? The silence never answered. Only the echo of laughter from the ballroom, growing fainter with each passing year. They told me I was powerful. But tell me, what power has a woman who cannot even keep her own heart safe? They say a courtesan has everything: wealth, beauty, power over men. But there is one thing she is never allowed: love. Oh, I tried. I truly did. In the beginning, when my heart was still foolish enough to believe, I let myself dream that someone might see me as more than silk and skin. There was a poet once, a gentle soul with ink-stained hands, who read me verses beneath the moonlight. He swore my laughter was sweeter than his wine, that he could carry me away to a life free from gilded cages. For a moment, I believed him. For a moment, I let myself imagine mornings without rouge, dinners without masks, nights without the weight of strange hands upon my body. But poets are dreamers, not saviors. When the coins ran dry, so did his promises. One morning he was gone, leaving behind only scraps of paper stained with unfinished lines. I burned them, not out of anger, but because I could not bear to read a future that never came. Then came the nobleman, the kind who looked at me with an ache in his eyes, as if I were both temptation and ruin. He whispered that he would make me respectable, that he would give me his name. I should have known better. Men like him never risk their reputations for women like me. In the end, he chose a bride of porcelain virtue, and I returned to my mirror with rouge running down my cheeks like blood. The cruelest wound was this: even when they loved me, they did not believe me capable of love. To them, my affection was always a performance, my tenderness always a transaction. I was desired, yes. I was envied, adored, fought over, but I was never trusted. And so my heart learned to hide. It beat quietly beneath satin gowns and jeweled necklaces, waiting for a touch that never came. I kissed men with painted lips while silently mourning the one kiss I would never know, the kiss that asked for nothing in return. Do you understand the torment of it? To be surrounded by passion, yet starved of love. To be caressed nightly, yet ache for a hand that trembles not with lust, but with devotion. They bought my body 1,000 times, but not once did anyone buy my heart. And in time, I began to wonder if it was even for sale anymore, or if it had withered into something no longer worth offering. Time is a crueler rival than any woman. She does not shout, she does not strike, she simply waits. And one morning, you wake to find her face staring back at you from the mirror. I once walked into ballrooms with every gaze fixed upon me. Men quarreled for a chance to brush my hand. Women studied me with envy sharp enough to cut glass. But that was before the lines at the corners of my eyes, before the rouge no longer clung so easily, before my laughter sounded rehearsed even to myself. Now, when I enter, the music does not pause. Men still look, yes, but not for long. Their eyes slide past me toward the younger courtesans, the fresh blossoms newly plucked from poverty, blooming in gowns I once wore. They sparkle with the same naive fire I once carried, unaware of how quickly it will be extinguished. I smile at them sometimes, a smile heavy with secrets I cannot share. They think I am still their rival, but the truth is harsher. I have already been replaced. With age came silence. Invitations arrived less often, jewels less bright, carriages slower to call at my door. The patrons who remained were older, drunker, clumsier, seeking in me not passion, but habit. To them, I was a memory still walking, still breathing, and then there were the whispers. She was beautiful once, they said, as though my name belonged only to the past. I became a ghost, haunting my own reflection, condemned to linger while the world danced on without me. The body that once drew applause betrayed me in quiet ways, coughs that lingered too long, fevers that left me trembling, marks on my skin that no powder could hide. Doctors spoke of infections, of wasting illnesses that devoured women like me. I listened in silence, knowing well that my fate had been sealed the first night I painted my lips and stepped into the masquerade. I told myself I would leave before the inn, retire to the countryside, perhaps live quietly with books and roses. But leaving is a luxury, and luxuries belong to men, not to women who lived off borrowed time. So I remained. I remained as the chandeliers grew dimmer, as the music shifted to younger voices, as Paris itself seemed to forget me. Once I was the flame. Now I am only the smoke curling upward, fading into nothing. And yet I am still here, watching, remembering, aching. My beauty has withered, yes, but my memories remain sharp. The laughter, the tears, the thousand faces that passed through my bed and my life, they linger as if mocking me. Time has taken everything except this, the knowledge of what I was. And sometimes, in the dead of night, I wonder, was it ever worth the cost? They will not remember me as I was. Not the child who stitched her mother's shawl, nor the girl who believed in poetry, nor even the woman who once glittered beneath chandeliers. No, they will remember only the courtesan. To them, I am a story to be told in hushed tones at salons, a painting hanging in some forgotten gallery, a name scribbled in the margins of men's letters. Desire turned into legend, legend turned into dust. And perhaps that is fitting, for my life was always lived in borrowed rooms, behind velvet curtains, in the shadow of secrets too fragile to last. Do you know what remains when the gowns fray, when the jewels tarnish, when the beauty fades? Silence, a silence so deep it drowns you, until you wonder if you ever truly existed. Sometimes late at night, I walk to the window and watch the carriages rattle down the cobblestones. Laughter rises from ballrooms I no longer enter. Music floats through the streets like a ghost I cannot touch. I press my hand against the glass and remember when that world was mine, when they called my name as though it mattered. But glass is cold. It keeps me here, on this side, looking out. A queen in exile, crowned only by memory. Still, I speak now, so that someone might hear me, not the courtesan, but the woman buried beneath her silks. The one who loved and lost, who dreamed and drowned, who wore her sorrow like a second skin. If you carry anything of me, let it be this. Behind every jeweled mask, behind every painted smile, there beats a heart no coin can buy. A heart that longed for nothing more than to be seen, truly seen, if only once. And so my story ends not with triumph, not with salvation, but with a whisper. Remember me, not for the splendor, but for the silence that followed it. For in that silence lies the only truth I ever owned.